All right, so that was a disappointing year. We did not make the playoffs, of course, in the last one, and the LA Kings are the Stanley Cup champions of the year 2042. So before we go any further, let's take a look at the stats for the regular season. I don't believe we did that in the last one. You have Randolph Rogers with 76 points, leads the team. Tobias Wieland with 41 goals, 72 points. He did what I expected him to. Pavel Jansa with 62 points. Ronshin with 60 points. Great acquisition from the Pittsburgh Penguins at the start of the season. Kuzniakov, the captain, with 49 points in 76 games, minus 20. Merrifield with 41. Werner with 40. Zaganiuk with 39. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, Zaganiuk is 7 points off of Daniel Alfredsson's record for the all-time franchise point leader. So I hope, for the sake of breaking the record, that Zaganiuk plays one more season. Justin Shax had our most points on defense with 36. And although we had a lot of depth contributions from the back end, I really expected a lot more out of Luke Seidok. He only had 28 points this season, and we know the extent of his capability from what we saw from the season before we were here. He had 59 points and an 84 grade. He wasn't anywhere close to that this season, so hopefully he can get back there next season. As honestly, the way this team is, I give us 1, maybe 2 more years at most to be competitive. If not, if we don't win the Stanley Cup in the next 2 years, this team is going to have a rough time with the rebuild. I mean, honestly, that probably would have happened regardless, but, once we win the Stanley Cup, then, this series is over. But if we don't win the Stanley Cup, then it's going to be a long, long rebuild, because not only do we have a lot of old players. I mean, it would not surprise me if we have the oldest roster in the league. We also do not have too many, if any, really good prospects. I mean, our only NHL ready prospect here is Tanner Schinkel, and his potential, I don't think he's going to grow too much just based off what we're seeing here. My point is, if we don't win, it's going to be a long time before the next window opens. So I would really prefer if we could do it within the next couple of years here. This team is inevitably going to need a rebuild of some kind in the next couple of years, just given how old our roster is. I mean, the youngest player on our team right now is our goaltender, Alan Manning, who is only 22, but he unfortunately didn't exactly have the greatest end to the season. He only had a .904 save percentage on the season, and that's compared to like a .929 that he had halfway through the season, so he really struggled towards the end there, unfortunately. And I'll keep trusting in him. I really believe that he can get it done, but he does need to show more consistency next year. But overall, with this team, I'm pretty nervous because, once again, we only have, I would say, 1 or 2 more years left in our window. There are 5 guys that I'm not re-signing. 3 of them were on our NHL roster: Soden, Quinn, and Turbide, all getting released to free agency. They're all either asking for too much money or just, in general, don't want to re-sign them. And here we go, awards time. So the Ted Lindsay Award, the Art Ross, and the Maurice Richard all go to Bob O'Finneran on Colorado. Yeah, it looks like he's probably the best player in the league right now. 116 points in 82 games played, 52 goals, 64 assists, and that is basically a replicant of what he did last season. So yeah, easily one of, if not the best player in the league right now. And then the Lady Byng goes to Elliot McQuaid of Toronto. The Bill Masterton goes to Ty Nelson. The Mark Messier Leadership Award goes to Larry Maskery. And the Jennings Trophy goes to Gabriel Santilov. So the Hart Trophy, I wonder who this goes to. O'Finneran, yep. And then the Conn Smythe goes to Kent Svensson. And then the Calder Trophy between Carlson, Valen, and Yasenko goes to Valen of Seattle. And then the Norris between Lazarshin, Bonggiorni, and I'm not even going to try that one. But let's see. Okay, of course, it's the one that I can't pronounce. And the Frank Chase Selke between Wyndham, Brown, and Quince goes to John Quince of the Devils. And the Vezina between Shelton, Morris, and Libet goes to Landon Libet of Florida. It's a fun name to say. Executive of the Year between Brian McCabe, Bill Scott, and Kyle Dubas. It's Brian McCabe of Florida. And the Jack Adams between Christian Ebert, Manny Malhotra, and Ed Stern. It goes to Ed Stern of Florida. And here's the season score. So we did not get Manager of the Year. We did not reach the playoffs. We did have a winning season, but we didn't have a winning percentage of .600 or better. We didn't finish first. We didn't reach the finals or the championship. We failed to reach the playoffs, and our season score is 11, bringing our total career score to 448. 2 available points. I'll put them into in-game tactics. I guess for right now, we'll bring Laverne into his second season as the head coach of the Ottawa Senators. But if anything goes wrong this season, like, another one of those 8 of our last 9 losing streaks, then I think he has to be fired, because that absolutely cannot happen again. And I think at this point, my miscellaneous ratings are, they're very high. So I think given the amount of veterans that we have on our team, I think me taking over as the coach wouldn't be the worst idea, because, all these coaching ratings over here are just for development purposes, from what I understand. So, and then all the miscellaneous ratings have to do with actual simulation success. So I think if it comes down to it, that wouldn't be the worst idea. But like I said, we're going to bring Laverne into his second season with the Ottawa Senators to start things out. All right, so we're here on July 1st, and I've already approached some free agents, and a couple of big ones at that. So first off, we have Matt Marple, 20 years of age. This guy, 3.5-star ability. He was released to free agency. Why? I don't know. I don't know what team drafted him. I guess it was, as we take a look at his history, Montreal drafted him 12th overall in 2040, and for whatever reason, they left him unsigned. So, you know what? Matt Marple, we have approached him with an entry-level contract. So if we can manage to get him on board, things will be looking very good for next season and for the future. Obviously, he's only 20 years of age. Shooting accuracy is at 21, so I expect him to put up quite a few goals. As we see last year in the WHL with the Winnipeg Ice, he put up 56 and 66, 122 points. He made 4 consecutive years of over 110 points. So that's very encouraging. Next on the list is Jason Baslick, also 20 years of age. Looking pretty good rating-wise. He is a 3-star ability, 4-star potential. Career stats last year with the Victoria Royals. So once again, he has never played in the NHL up to this point. I don't know why all of a sudden teams are deciding to release their prospects. Dallas drafted him 16th overall in the 2040 draft. Like I said, I have never seen this before, and all of a sudden we run into 2 in the same free agent period. But nonetheless, he is an unrestricted free agent, so I decided to go after him. And that's potential competition for Mr. Alan Manning, and then of course Forrester. So we have insurance in goal if we can manage to get this guy on board. Next up are a couple of defensemen. First, you have Aaron Kiviharju, 36 years of age. An offensive defenseman, but he was a cheap one, so I decided to go after him. I mean, obviously, we don't really have much need for offensive defensemen on this team, but like I said, his contract he wasn't asking for much money at all. I believe it was only 1.1, so I decided to just give it to him. And then you have Konsta Aaltonen, 26 years of age, and he is more of a two-way more of a defensive defenseman, honestly, which is why I decided to go after him. He's got 20 determination, so that was really a key factor in deciding on signing him, as opposed to a couple of other options I was looking at. And then his defensive ratings, defensive reads at 18, checking's at 18, positioning's at 15. Nothing really is weak there besides face-offs, which he doesn't need as a defenseman. Unfortunately, he does carry quite a hefty contract. 4.35 mil is what he asked for, or is what we gave him. So we are unfortunately going to have to unload a couple of guys, I believe. But, after last season, I don't mind doing that. But the big one of these names, Maverick Ardern, 30 years of age, 5-star ability. He only wanted 2.5. And I would guess that was because he wasn't in the NHL last year. He was with Akbars Kazan of the KHL. He had 64 points with them last year. And he unfortunately, it looks like he never lived up to his potential point-wise in the NHL. I believe his career high is 62. But still, he's a 5-star player. And his defensive ratings are great. His offensive ratings are great. Almost everything about him is great. And when a player like that is available for $2.5 million, you go after him. So if we could get all these guys on board, plus what we already have in our roster, I think we're good for another cup run. Now, there's one more player that I want to sign who I haven't approached yet because I wanted it to be a surprise. So as we go into the free agent center, he's a forward. He's someone who we are very familiar with, and he is someone who we have won a championship with. The one, the only, Thomas Boudreau is in free agency, and we're going to go after him. He's 34 years of age, so time is flying in this particular save file. Unfortunately, he hasn't won anything really at the NHL level just yet, but he does have a lot of experience, and unfortunately last season was not that good for him, only 20 points, 62 grade, but I'm hoping that by bringing back the guy who not single-handedly, but was a huge part in the reason why Rimouski went, 63, 2-3 in that one crazy season. We won the QMJHL championship with him, and then of course we blew it in the Memorial Cup. But I'm hoping that we can come full circle with Thomas Boudreau and win the Stanley Cup with him on our team. So let's offer him a contract. He only wants 3.5 for 1 year, so we're going to do exactly that. In fact, I'll give him a little bit more just to make sure we get him 3.6. So of course, with all these contracts being offered and the fact that we don't really have much salary cap space, we are going to have to unload a couple players. But like I said, I don't mind doing that. I think we're going to be unloading Schacht. He's the oldest of our defensive core. And he did have a great season last season. He had 36 points in 81 games played. But given how old this team is, we do need to move in a slightly younger direction while at the same time getting better. And he's making 5.3, so I figured it makes sense to move on from him. Plus, we obviously have other capable offensive defensemen like Luke Seidock. Obviously only 28. He had 59 points the year before we came here, so he certainly has the potential to get there again. Unfortunately, this year was a bit of a down year for him, but like I said, hopefully he can get back there, especially with our new acquisitions, or hopeful acquisitions, I should say. Roger Hankin, same deal. He's pretty capable offensively himself. Unfortunately, he's a bit injury prone there. And then Chrysler Westerland, he's also really good offensively. He had 58 points the year before we came here, 32 points last season. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to get it done offensively, even without Justin Schacht. So that's why I decided we should move on from him. And as for forwards, we're going to have to move on from someone here as well. I'm thinking Salmier. He wasn't as good as I thought he would be last season. He only had 13 points in 37 games played. Granted, he was probably pretty good defensively, but he's making $4 million for the next 2 years. I'm just not sure if we're going to be able to hold on to that while getting all these contracts in the process. Ronshin, we're definitely holding on to. He's only making 3.5 for this year, and he had 60 points last season, so there's no reason why he shouldn't be on our roster this year. Even though he's 34, he earned a spot on our roster this year, that's for sure. Zaganiak, we got to hold on to him. He's spent his whole career with the Ottawa Senators, basically. And he's how many points away from breaking the record? 7. 7 points away from breaking Daniel Alfredson's record, so we got to hold on to him no matter what. He's got to play out his career here. But yeah, I think Salmier and Schacht are going to be on their way out once we can manage to sign all these guys. Presuming we do. So there you go. I believe that is all I wanted to do. Let's simulate ahead to whenever we can manage to sign these guys. All right, so we're on July 6th now. We don't have any responses as of right now. Basilic, unfortunately, it looks like we're out on because, unfortunately, Minnesota is the top offer, and I can't exactly increase that offer in any way because it's an entry-level deal. So I don't know how he sees them as having a better offer unless they're doing something I'm not aware of. Maybe they gave him like a star status or something, but that's not something I'm willing to do considering we have 2 other solid goaltenders ourselves. So if we don't get him, then it's not a big deal. I just figured it'd be nice to get some young competition in there for Manning. However, we are the front runners for everybody else at this moment. So we're going to go to the draft lottery now. And obviously we do have a slight chance at picking top 3, but I wouldn't count on it. So New Jersey, they will pick 16th, and will we pick 15th or top 3? We will pick 15th. At 14 will be Boston, 13 Islanders, 12 will be Edmonton, 11 Calgary, 10 Carolina, 9 Minnesota, 8 Anaheim, 7 Buffalo, no movement yet. At 6 you have Montreal, 5 Seattle, 4 Dallas. So Winnipeg moves up to the top 3 with Vancouver and Washington. At 3 is Washington, and number 1 is Winnipeg. Wow, so they win the lottery. And now on July 7th, did we get everybody? I think so. I think we got everybody besides Basilic. Yeah, Basilic signed with Minnesota, but we got Thomas Boudreau back on our team, so the reunion of the century has happened here in Ottawa. And then we also got Matt Marple, Aaron Kiviharju, Konsta Aaltonen, and Maverick Ardern. So we are looking pretty set for next season. So Thomas Boudreau, he's got to have 21, no doubt about it. And then Reed Cerrone can have 12, I guess. Matt Marple also wants 21, but nah, that's got to belong to Boudreau. I'll give him 26. Aaron Kiviharju wants number 4. I'll give you a 44. Aaltonen also wants number 4. So there you go. Our team salary is now at $89 million. We're definitely going to need to make a couple of moves here at the draft. So like I said, I think Schacht will be on the way out as well as Salmier. Yikes. So we only have 4 draft picks this year. a first, a second, a fifth, and a sixth. We did do quite a bit of trading draft pick wise, so that makes sense. Although I suppose since we're trading Sommier and Shacht, we'll be able to get a couple of those picks back. Ideally, I want to see if I can move up into the top 10 with Shacht, because I know Shacht has a lot of value. I'm pretty sure he's a 4-star player, isn't he? Yeah, he's a 4-star player, so I would like to get a top 10 pick for him for sure. And then with Sommier, he's a 3-star. I could probably get a second for him, maybe a late first. I don't know. Okay, so I found a taker for Shacht. Unfortunately, I'm giving up a little bit more than I wanted to, but we're getting the 11th overall pick from Calgary in exchange for Shacht and our 3rd round pick for next year. And let's finalize this deal. And I found a taker for Sommier. Boston is willing to give us their 2nd round pick for next year, which obviously either we could use to draft or use as trade bait for other trades. And I just realized Boston was Sommier's previous team, and in fact his only other team that he's ever been on, so he spends 1 year with us and then goes right back to Boston. So the salary situation is looking much better now. We're at 80.4. So that puts us, I believe, just under the salary cap, maybe $1 million in space. So we're pushing it for sure, but we are under the salary cap now, I believe. And with that, let's begin the draft. We do have now Calgary's 1st round pick in addition to our own. All right, so we can either take an NHL ready player in Ashley Sanderson, or we could go for potential. There's Mastrangelo, a goaltender, 3.5-star potential, only 1-star current ability though. There's also Villadson, 3.5-star potential, 0.5-star current. Here's the thing, we don't necessarily need a center right now with Ardern, Werner, Rogers, Wieland, and Marple. So how much good would Sanderson really do us? I mean, he'd be good for the future, sure, but his development would be... I don't think there would be enough space on the roster for him to develop unless we would have to move on from one of our current centers like next year. That being said, he is the best option out of all the players available. Yeah, in terms of overall NHL readiness, no one else even comes close. It's just a matter of, do I think he'll be able to develop on this team? You know what, it can't hurt to at least draft him, and then we'll decide what we do with him, I guess, maybe next year. Because the way he is right now, I mean, he could definitely play in the NHL, but I think I would rather keep him with Kamloops, just because I would want him to develop his offense a little bit more. But we'll see what happens with him anyway. So Sanderson, welcome to Ottawa. And here we are, a few picks later, pick number 15, our own pick. Someone else who stood out to me was Colin Standing of the Toronto Marlies, apparently. He's already signed with them. Determinations at 17, temperaments and professionalism at 18, defensive reads at 17, and a pretty well-rounded offensive category as well. Positioning's at 15, so overall just he has a solid base to work off of. So I think we'll take Colin Standing with this pick. I think at this point in the draft, we're only at the 2nd round. There's not much else that really jumps out at me, so I think I'll just draft for potential now. I guess I'll take Pietila. I mean, we could use basically prospects at every position, so yeah, Pietila, welcome to Ottawa. Uh-oh, not responding. Please don't crash. Please don't crash. Okay, thank you. Before I go any further, I'm going to save just to prevent a possible crash here, because that is the 2nd time that's done that in this recording. Yeah, we're in the 5th round now, and really nothing's jumping out at me, either current or potential-wise, so we're just going to let the computer finish the draft. All right, now let's take a look at the prospects pool and see what we're looking like now. So obviously Sanderson, who once again I'm going to leave unsigned for the time being. I want him to develop a little bit more in the WHL. And then everybody else I think I'll leave unsigned as well. I mean, Tanner Schinkel, yeah, he needs more time. Even though he's a 2-star ability, he definitely needs to get a little bit better there. Prospects-wise, we're definitely looking better than when we came here, but we do still have quite a bit of work to do as far as rebuilding the prospects pool. Because I'm going to say, if we can't win this year, or maybe next year, then we're going to have to go into a rebuild of some kind. Maybe a retool, I don't know. But a roster revamp of some sort is inevitable within the next couple of years, given how old this team is. I mean, obviously, we picked up Marple, who's only 20, but that's just the start, you know? Because the majority of our roster are either in or past their primes. So I guess next time we'll go into year number 2 with Ottawa and see what we can do. And hopefully we can avoid some 8 of our last 9 losing streaks. It'll be an interesting season for sure.